Okay, so you want to learn AI, which makes sense. It's everywhere these days,
Mm.
right? But figuring out where to even start can feel, well, a little overwhelming. So today, we're going to try to break it down. We're diving into two popular YouTubers, Tu Vu, who runs the channel Data Analytics, and Dave Ebelar. You provided their videos on learning AI, so we're going to extract the good stuff. Like, what are the must-know things?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, both Vu and Abelard, they have a ton of experience, right? And their videos, they're packed with useful advice, but they approach it from different angles. Vu gives you this structured path step by step, while Abelard is more about diving in head first, learning by doing. That's his thing.
I got to say, that learn by doing philosophy, it's really appealing. Especially when you see how much AI is already changing things and market projections. It's crazy. Almost $2 trillion by 2030.
Exactly. And it's not just tech stuff either. AI is changing everything. Writing, making images, even medical diagnoses, music.
So it's like AI is suddenly everywhere, and knowing how to use it, it's becoming this must-have skill no matter what industry you're in. But I'm curious about the different paths. Like, Ebelar's dive right in approach sounds exciting, but is that really realistic for everyone?
Well, Abelard, he's a big believer in getting your hands dirty right away. First step, he says, set up your Python environment because most AI work, it relies on that. Then you tackle projects, and as you go, you fill in the knowledge gaps.
So it's like learning to cook.
Hmm.
Right. You wouldn't just read cookbooks all day. You got to get in the kitchen and actually try a recipe.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And for some learners, that hands-on approach, it really clicks. It's super effective.
But I can see how Vu's more structured roadmap, it might be a better fit for others. He starts with the basics, like mastering Python and getting comfortable with Git.
Now, Git, it might seem like a weird one, but it's actually super important for working on projects with other people and for accessing code examples. It's a version control system. Basically, it helps you track changes, work with others smoothly, and use existing code.
So it's about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I had known about Git when I was starting out.
Oh, for sure. And then Vu also talks about how important it is to understand how APIs work.
APIs.
Yeah, remember those AI tools we talked about? The
Yeah.
ones that feel like a black box? APIs are like the key to unlocking their full potential. They let you interact with them on a much deeper level, customize them to do exactly what you need.
Oh, that's so true. I remember this one time I was so frustrated with an image generation tool. Until I discovered its API, suddenly I could control so much more. It was like I had a backstage pass to the AI world.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And Vu is right to stress how important they are. Understanding APIs, it lets you go beyond just using AI tools. You can actually shape them.
Okay, so we got two paths, Evelar's hands-on approach and Vu's structured roadmap. But let's talk about the core concepts themselves. Things like machine learning, deep learning, neural networks. They can sound pretty intimidating.
Yeah, they can be a mouthful. But at their core, it's all about teaching computers to learn from data. Think of it like teaching a dog a new trick. You don't explain the physics of the trick. You just show them over and over. Rewards, repetition. That's similar to how machine learning works. We train machines by giving them data, and they learn patterns from that data. And then they use those patterns to make predictions.
So we're training machines like we train our dogs. I like that. But what about deep learning? Where does that fit in?
Deep learning, it's basically a type of machine learning, but it uses these things called artificial neural networks, and they're inspired by, get this, the human brain. These networks, they have layers of interconnected nodes, and these nodes, they process information kind of like neurons in our brains.
So deep learning is like machine learning, but with a brain-inspired twist. And neural networks are the engines driving it all.
Exactly. And these neural networks, they've evolved over time. First, we had convolutional neural networks for image recognition and recurrent neural networks for understanding sequences like text. But then in 2017, a real game changer came along. The transformer architecture.
Transformers, yeah. From what I've read, they're like the superstars of the AI world now.
Mm.
They power a lot of the advanced language models we use today. They sound incredibly complex.
They are powerful, that's for sure. Transformers, they revolutionize the field, they process information in parallel, and they can capture long-range dependencies in data. This has led to some really incredible breakthroughs in natural language processing.
So transformers are the key to understanding how AI is processing and generating human-like text.
That's one way to think about it. But before we go too deep into the weeds of transformers, maybe we should shift gears a bit, talk about something more practical.
You mean actually building something with this knowledge? I'm all for that.
Exactly. In the next part, we'll explore how to get some hands-on experience with AI. Whether you prefer Ebelar's hands-on approach or VU's structured path. We'll dig into projects, resources, even specialization.
Sounds like we're just getting started. Can't wait to dive into the practical side of things. Stick around, listeners. Welcome back. Last time we were talking about transformers and, how they're changing the AI game. Should everyone be trying to understand how they work?
Well, it depends on what you're aiming for, really. If you want to be like at the cutting edge of AI research, developing new stuff, then yeah, diving deep into transformers is probably smart. But if you're more interested in using AI tools, building applications, then having a basic understanding might be enough.
That's good to know. Speaking of building applications, both Vu and Ebelar really stress the importance of projects to get that practical experience. Where's a good place to even start?
VU suggests starting small, like really simple stuff. You could create a basic neural network using libraries like Keras or TensorFlow in Python. It's a good way to really grasp those fundamental concepts.
Yeah, I remember feeling kind of lost with my first neural network project. It felt like magic until I actually broke it down step by step. Ebeler actually has a different approach. He suggests reverse engineering existing projects. He even has a whole GitHub repository full of LangChain experiments.
Oh yeah, LangChain. It's an awesome framework for building with large language models, and Ebelar's repository is a treasure trove for anyone wanting to learn how it works. It's a perfect example of how learning from other people's code can really speed up your learning.
It's amazing how much valuable information is out there for free. Both Vu and Ebelar talked about how important it is to find reliable sources to stay up to date because this field changes so fast, right? You have any favorites?
Kaggle is fantastic for finding AI and machine learning projects. They host competitions, with real-world data sets and challenges. And the community is super active. They share code, insights, all sorts of stuff. Vu also mentioned a YouTube channel. It's run by Sophia Yang. She explains complex AI research papers, but she makes it easy to understand. I've learned a ton from her videos.
Okay, so Kaggle for hands-on projects, Sophia Yang for the research side. Got it. What about blogs and newsletters? Are those still relevant with all the AI news coming out every day?
Oh, for sure. Blogs and newsletters are still super valuable for keeping up with trends and new stuff. Towards Data Science is a great blog. I also subscribe to Andrew Ng's newsletter, The Batch. And of course, you got to follow channels like Vu's and Ebelar's on YouTube to stay in the loop.
It's interesting that both creators also mentioned sharing your own knowledge as you learn.
Yeah, sharing what you learn, whether it's through blog posts, videos, or even just talking to other people, it really helps solidify your understanding. When you have to explain something to someone else, it forces you to think it through clearly.
It's like that saying, the best way to learn is to teach. Now, what about specialization? AI is growing so fast. Do you think it's important to focus on a specific area?
I think it can be really helpful. As you gain experience, work on different projects, you'll naturally gravitate towards things that interest you. Maybe you'll get hooked on computer vision and want to build applications that analyze images and video, or perhaps you'll be drawn to natural language processing and create chatbots or tools that summarize text.
We seem to really get into the whole prompt engineering thing, which seems like a whole other world.
It is. Prompt engineering is becoming increasingly important, especially with large language models. It's all about creating the right prompts to get the responses you want. It's a lot more complex than it sounds.
So finding your niche within AI lets you really go deep and stand out in this competitive field. Ebelar even said that specialization can open up different career paths, landing a specific job, freelancing, or even creating your own AI-powered product.
Exactly. And speaking of the bigger picture, maybe it's a good time to shift gears and talk about the human side of AI.
You mean the ethical implications? I know Vu mentioned that in his video.
Yeah, and while avoiding bias is crucial, I think it's important to remember that most AI development today is focused on positive applications. We should be excited about the potential of AI to solve real-world problems, to make people's lives better.
I totally agree. AI could revolutionize healthcare, education, sustainability, so many things. But I'm curious about what's being done to make sure AI is developed and used responsibly. You mentioned AI safety research earlier.
Right. AI safety research is all about making sure AI systems align with human values and goals. As AI gets more sophisticated, it's important to be proactive, address any potential unintended consequences. We want to make sure these systems stay beneficial to humanity.
It sounds a bit like something out of science fiction, but I guess as AI becomes more powerful, these concerns become more real.
Exactly. It's not just about preventing AI from turning evil. It's about making sure AI systems are robust, reliable, transparent in their decision-making. We need to build AI we can trust, even as it becomes more autonomous.
So it's about building a partnership between humans and AI, not fear or distrust. And I know there's a movement towards regulating AI development and deployment. Vu mentioned the EU AI Act and the U.S. Executive Order on AI.
Yeah, those are just two examples of governments stepping in, trying to establish some guidelines for responsible AI development. It shows that ethical AI isn't just the responsibility of researchers and developers. It involves policymakers and society as a whole.
This is all super fascinating. I bet our listeners want to hear more about how this AI safety and regulation stuff plays out in the real world.
For sure. In the last part of our deep dive, we'll look at how these considerations are shaping the AI landscape and what it means for people learning and working in this field.
Stay tuned, everyone, for the final part of our deep dive. We're back for the final part of our AI learning journey. We've covered a lot, from the basics of Python and Git to the world of neural networks and even, like, finding your niche in AI. But now let's dive into what we touched on earlier, the human side of AI.
It's easy to get lost in all the technical stuff, the amazing things AI can do, but it's important to remember AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for, well, not so good things.
Right, and that's why understanding AI safety and regulation is so crucial.
Mhm.
What are some practical steps to make sure AI development stays on the right track?
One of the most promising areas is explainable AI, or XAI. The idea is to make how AI systems make decisions more transparent, so humans can understand. This is especially important in fields like healthcare or finance, where the stakes are high. You need to know why an AI is making a certain recommendation.
So it's not just about making sure AI doesn't cause harm, but also making sure we can understand its reasoning. That makes a lot of sense. Are there any real-world examples of XAI in action?
Definitely. In medicine, for instance, researchers are developing AI systems that can diagnose diseases and also explain how they got to that diagnosis. This helps doctors understand the AI's thinking and build trust in its recommendations.
Wow, that's incredible. It sounds like XAI could bridge the gap between these complex AI systems and us humans who use them. What about regulation? What role do governments play in making sure AI development is ethical?
Governments worldwide are starting to realize they need to set clear guidelines and frameworks for AI. We talked about the EU AI Act, which categorizes AI systems based on their risk level and has stricter rules for high-risk applications, like those used in important infrastructure or law enforcement.
So it's about finding that balance between supporting innovation and, at the same time, reducing potential risks. What about the U.S.? Anything similar happening here?
Yeah, the U.S. has a blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights. It outlines 5 core principles for ethical AI development: systems that are safe and effective, protection against algorithmic discrimination, data privacy, clear explanations of how AI works, and ensuring there are human alternatives and ways to opt out.
It's good to see governments actively working on AI regulation. Seems like there's a growing understanding that developing AI ethically is everyone's responsibility. What about individuals, though? Like, what can our listeners do to contribute?
That's a great point. One of the most important things anyone can do is just stay informed about the ethical side of AI. Read articles, follow experts on social media, have conversations about these issues.
Education and awareness are key. And I'm guessing that as more people get into AI, the need for professionals who understand both the technical and ethical aspects of AI will just keep growing.
Oh, absolutely. Companies are increasingly looking for AI talent that can not only build innovative solutions, but also do it responsibly.
So learning AI isn't just about coding and algorithms, it's about understanding how this technology affects society too.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a few key takeaways. First, AI is constantly changing. What you learn today might be old news tomorrow, so keep learning, always.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
What else?
Don't be afraid to experiment. Build projects, even if they're small. That's the best way to really get it and get experience.
And remember, there are tons of resources online. Lots of them are free. Make use of those communities, tutorials, and open source projects.
And finally, and maybe most importantly, AI is a tool. We humans need to guide its development and make sure it's used to make things better for everyone.
AI has the potential to solve some of the world's biggest problems, but it also comes with responsibility.
It's been great exploring these resources with you. We've gone from practical tips on Python and building projects to the complex world of neural networks and the ethical considerations of this powerful technology.
As we finish our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this. The future of AI is being shaped now, and every single one of us plays a part in making sure it's shaped responsibly. So stay curious, keep learning, and never stop asking questions.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. Until next time, keep exploring.